Now, I welcome you to session 4, and I am very delighted to introduce you the resource person of this session. Although he didn't require any introduction because he is your coordinator of this program and worked very hard for the last few months even for making it possible. And definitely there is very much background work in creating any event. So Mr. Mohammad Danish works as assistant professor in civil engineering section of University Polytechnic, Aligarh Muslim University. He graduated in civil engineering in 2012 and completed its master in 2014 from the Department of Civil Engineering, Aligarh Muslim University, AMU. Currently, he is pursuing PhD from AMU. Since his graduation day, he is involved in research activities and published various research papers in reputed SCI journals and in international conferences. His field of interest is soft computing techniques, artificial intelligence, tools, scores prediction, CFD, and floor frequency analysis. Research papers have been published mainly in Elsevier, Indian Water Resources Society, Aquatic Procedure, Springer, etc. He had also received 2 gold medals and published 1 patent, and hopefully it will be granted as patents very soon. So I am welcome you, Mr. Mohammad Danish, and now I am over to you, Mr. Mohammad Danish. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Afsar Hussain, for such a nice introduction. Now, today's lecture is about the hands-on session on programming in MATLAB. So, how to program in MATLAB using the script and function files. So, for that, I am sharing share. Okay, is it visible?
It is clearly visible.
So today's lecture is about making the script files while doing the programs in MATLAB and while writing the function files. So I will be discussing how to write script files, how to write M files, what are the difference between M files and function files. And then I will write some programs and try to run those programs. And I will explain some programs and their utilities, how to utilize various features of MATLAB. For that purpose, I have shared a folder containing all these programs and some test data, which I will be discussing here today in this hands-on session. So I hope all of you must have downloaded that that folder, and I request you to use those files while doing this session. Before starting, I would like to answer one query from the participants in the previous session. He asked about how to plot X, Y, Z and function graph. So I would like to answer that question over here. If suppose you want to plot a graph for some function, say f or say k, which is defined over variables x, y, and z. So for that, you have to first define your x values. So suppose here I have taken some values, x values of x from 1 to 10, and some y values from 11 to 20. These values can be any values. I have just assumed these values from 11 to 20 and z values from 11 to 20. And I have defined a function over here. This is the function definition. Actually, I will discuss this in detail in my during this session. But for that, just suppose that the function is defined like this. Okay. So suppose I have defined over here a function f, which is containing three variables over x, y, and z. Okay. And this function is x plus y plus z. This function can be any function. This function can be sine of x, sine of y, sine of z, or sine of x plus y plus z. Any type of function you can write over here. So suppose in this case, just for the simplicity, I have assumed that this function is x plus y plus z. Now here in this line, I have defined the function. Okay. And in the next line, this is k is equal to f of x, y, z. Here I have calculated the value of this function f by inserting the values of x, y, and z. Okay. So this k will calculate the values of this function f over the values of x, y, and z. What it will do? It will put the values one by one, values of x and y and z one by one into this function, and will calculate the value, and it will return those values back to the k. And in this command, plot x, y, and k, it will be plot 3 actually, because if you are plotting a 3D plot, so you will use plot 3, x, y, and k. It will plot the graph for you. Okay. So this was the answer. I hope it solves your query. Okay, coming back to our main topic, which is writing the M files. Now, what are M files? M files are actually the M files are actually the MATLAB files like text editor. Okay. This window is a editor. Okay. This is the MATLAB editor. Okay. Here, whatever program we write, whatever comments we write, we can write it over here. So this can be added. How this can be added? From here, you can select from here a script. Okay. It is writing a script over here. Okay. So just select a script, it will create a new file. Okay. This file, the extension, when you save this file, now save this file, save as, and save it over anywhere. Okay. Like I have this default folder, and name it as you like, say test. Okay. The extension of this file is .m. Okay. Notice over here, the extension of this file is .m, and this is the script file. I save it. Since the extension of this file is .m, so this is known as M file. Okay, this is known as M file. So I have created what I have done over here. I have created a script file, okay, also known as M file, with the name test. Okay. Now what is the use of this file? Suppose I want to do some calculations. Suppose I want to do some calculations, say x is equal to 1, 2, 3. I have defined a vector over here. I suppose all of you must have known about the vectors and matrices. So this is a one-dimensional vector x, and this is another, say, vector 4, 5, 6. Now, if I want to calculate some function, say x, I want to calculate x plus y. So say z is equal to x plus y. It will do the calculation. Okay. So you can run your commands in the, this is known as command window. Okay. So you can run your commands in the command window. Now, once you want to change your previous commands, suppose you want to change the value of x. So if you want to change it over here, you can't do it. Okay. Because once the command is executed, you cannot edit that command. So in the command window, you cannot change your command, your previous executed command. You have to write it again. And if suppose you have done this work today and you want to resume that work tomorrow, you cannot resume the window, command window on the next session. Once you close the MATLAB window, all this will be gone. So for that purpose, you want to write and save your commands to somewhere. Okay. And also you want to see whether your program, whether your commands are good or not, whether your commands are working correctly or not. You would like to edit some commands. So for that purpose, these script files are useful. Okay. So how to write a good script file? I have shared one script file named practice.m. Okay. Now I will go back to that file, practice.m. What I have done, the first command I have used is clear all. Okay. And CLC. This will clear all the variables stored in the in your MATLAB workspace, and CLC will clear the command window. Okay. So first of all, I have used this command because I want, when the program runs, I want everything to be clean. Okay. So that's why I have written over here. So you can write or start your script file means however you like. So suppose first, this is a good practice to write about the program. What is this about the program? So whenever we write the program, what we do, we use the comments. Okay, we use comments. How to insert comments? The first shortcut is to just start your comments with the % symbol, or see over here on this bar, there is a option named comment in the editor option. When you are working in the editor option, you can see over here in the comment, just press this button, it will comment your commands. And when you want to uncomment it, either you can delete your %s or just select the text, whatever the text you want to uncomment, and you can just press this uncomment button. So this is how you can hide your commands or uncomment your commands. Okay. So this is how you start writing your program. Okay. The comment is useful to write about the program, why you are writing this program, what is the purpose of this program. And this is a good practice. Whenever you write a command, just mention the purpose of that command afterwards. Suppose here in the line 4, I have written that num is a variable which is equal to 6 plus 3. Okay. And I have write store answer to default type as double. So I have mentioned the purpose of this command in the next by putting the comment before the statement. Okay. So it is a good practice, because whenever you share your program with someone else, or you access your program file after some time, you will forget that what this command was about. So it is a good practice to write the comments before the commands. Okay. Now I would like to run some commands for you. To begin with, I will uncomment this. Now this command double T, what it will do, it will change the this character T into a double precision. What is double precision? There are integers value and double precision value stored in the MATLAB workspace. So this is the double precision value. So you want to convert your character type. There are two types of data, character or a double precision, means numbers, values, and character strings. So if you want to convert your character into a double, so this is the command which is used to convert this into double precision. So this command will convert the T. T is the character over here. Okay, when you run this command, suppose I want to run this command, I will copy it and paste it in the command window. So what it will do, it will convert this character T into a double precision, which is equivalent to 116. Okay, and if you want to know what is the character equivalent of this 116, what you will do, you will just type char, char, and put 116 inside the parenthesis. It should return T. So it will return the answer as T. Okay, so this is how you can convert your data into double or into characters. Characters are also stored in the types in the form of strings. Okay, suppose you want to write a single alphabet, say T, so you will write it as like this, or you want to write a name, say name, so write it like this. This whole word or a set of words or a sentence is known as a string. Okay, and a single alphabet is known as character in the MATLAB workspace. I am defining this because I will use these strings and characters and doubles later on. Another important programming feature is writing, knowing about the vectors and matrices, because most of the time in MATLAB we work on the vectors and matrices, and we have to do some indexing. Okay, so here I will explain what are the vectors and matrices, and also about the structures and structures. We will be using it later on. Okay, structures and vectors and matrices. A vector is a type of array. Okay, a vector is a type of array in MATLAB. A vector is one-dimensional array. Okay, suppose I have defined over here a variable BEC, which is equal to 1 to 5. Okay, so let us execute this command. Okay. Once I execute this command, this VEC will return the values from 1 to 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a one-dimensional array. This is known as one-dimensional array because there is only one row. Okay, there is only one row. So this is a one-dimensional array. Or there may be a one column. If I transpose this and run it, do it over here, it will return a column vector. Okay, so whenever you come across one-dimensional arrays, means either a row array or a column array, so it is known as row vector or column vector, it is known as a vector. Okay, and when you have two-dimensional array, it is known as matrices. Okay, it is known as matrices. Suppose in this command there is another variable nv, which is from 1 to 9, and the spacing between the two the two terms will be equal to 2. Okay, here is another linear space. Linear space is used to create linearly spaced values. Okay, from 3 to 15, but with the spacing of 5. And I want to create a all these commands nv ls will create a one-dimensional array. Let me create it over here. So what it will do, it will generate the numbers from 1 to 9 with a spacing of 2. So the first one is starting from the 1, next the spacing is 2. So add 2 in 1, it will give you 3. Add 2 in 3, it will give you 5. Add 2, it will give you 7, and up to 9. Similarly, this one, linear space. Okay. So what I have done, I can either type my commands in the command window, or I can run from here. Okay, so this is the use of the script file. You can save your commands. Now all these were the vectors. Okay, now the difference between the above vectors and difference between this is separated by a semicolon. So when you separate it with a semicolon, what it will do, it will write the first row as 1 2, and when the semicolon will come, it will direct it to the next row. Okay, so the next row will be 3 and 4. So let us see what it would be like. Run this command in the command window. So first row will be 1 2, and second row will be 3 4. Now here it is a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so it is no longer a vector, it is a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so this is the difference between a vector and a matrix. Collectively they are known as arrays, one dimensional and two dimensional. While indexing, now indexing is very important while writing a program. Indexing is to know the to extract the elements. Okay, to extract the elements, or to know where the certain value is stored within a variable. So for that, for indexing, we use command size. Size will return the number of rows and number of columns within a array. Okay, this command will return the number of rows and number of columns within the array vec. Okay, so let me run this command. Now RR represent the number of rows and CC represent the number of columns. So in my array vec VEC, this is from 1 to 5. Okay, so number of rows were in VEC, this is the VEC. Number of rows were only 1, and number of columns are 5. So RR will be 1 and CC will be 5. Okay, so now if I want to extract fifth element, say, so I will just write VEC 5 and it will return the fifth element. Suppose I want to know the sixth element, so I will write VEC 6 and it will return the sixth element. Now since the dimensions are only 1 by 5, so it will not return the sixth element. Okay, so you have to be very careful whether the dimensions, whatever the element you want to extract, whether the dimensions meet the criteria. So for that I will discuss what we have to do. Okay, so in indexing we need to extract the data from the vectors, so we use these commands. Okay, we use size to know the number of rows and number of columns, and based on the number of rows and number of columns we extract the values. Okay, by using this command VEC, and in parentheses we just insert the element number. What is the element number? Okay, what is the element number? We just insert it, so it will return back the value which is stored at that particular position. Okay, now if suppose I want to store some characters value. Okay, so how to store a character or a set of you can say a word, or collectively they are known as strings, a set of characters. Okay, so how to store this? We write characters or string under quotes. Okay, so we have to put it under quote, then MATLAB will understand that this is a type character or this is a type strings. Okay, so what I have done in this command, I have defined x which is equal to 1 to 10 with a spacing of 2, Okay, I have defined another variable y, which is from 1 to 50, and I have put the name of these variables x and y, and I want to store it in another variable z. Okay, so this z will contain the name of the variables x and y. Okay, now these are the three different variables. I want to store these three different variables in a single variable. Okay, so for that we call it as a structure. A structure is contains the set of different variables. You can store various variables inside a structure. Okay, how to define a structure? This is the way to define a structure. Okay, what I have done in this command at line number 32, you can see I have defined a structure named data. Okay, and data.x. What is this telling you? This is telling that create a structure named data with a variable x. Okay, so what it will do, it will create a structure named data, and inside that structure data you will find a variable x. Okay, now we have to assign the values to this variable. So our this variable x should contain the values of x. So I have assigned the values of x to this variable. Okay, so let me run this command first, then I will show you what it will be like. Okay, so let's run this. So what it will do, it will create a let me first run these commands, then I will do it. Yes, because I haven't run the first command x, so this is showing that undefined function or variable. So let me first run the values of x, y, and z. Okay, let me first define the values of x, y. Now you can see very well over here that first I have defined the values of x, y, and z, and then I have created a structure. Within that structure there is a variable x, and I have assigned the values of x to that variable x. Okay, or I can write another name, it will be confusing. Okay, I say x values. Okay, then I will assign it as x. Okay, so what it will do, it will create a variable x values within the structure data, and the x values will be the values of x which we have defined earlier. Okay, so what it is showing, the content of this data structure is two variables. First is x, and within that x there are values of x, and secondly I defined x values to make it simple. So this is again contains the values of x. Now let me define another data. Within the same structure data, I am defining values of y. So y values. Okay, so the name of the variable is y values, and I'm assigning the values of y to this. Okay, now I run this. So it will generate another variable within the same structure named y values, and the values of y are assigned to this. So it is showing that 1 by 50 double. Okay, if you want to see the content of this file, you just come to the workspace. On the left side you will find a workspace, and if you closely look you will find the data structure. Okay, so just double click it, it will open the data structure for you. So here the data is open. It is 1 by 1 structure with 3 fields. Okay, the first field was data dot x that I defined. So it contains the variable x. These are the variables that are stored within this data. So values of x. Secondly, I defined x values, and I have defined y values. Now define another variable data dot z values, and I will assign the values of z to this. It will create z values. Okay, so now you can see the z values are here, and content of z value, if you want to see the content, just double click this variable. Okay, so it will create xy. Okay, it will create y values. So this is how you can define a structure. Now, what is the use of this structures? The use is that when we are working with the data, suppose we have collected some data, which contains say name, uh, uh, phone numbers, email addresses, and we want to separate those datas. Uh, okay, so for that, this structure is very useful. What this structure will do, it will extract the values, names, all the phone numbers, all the emails, and it will store it within the same structure. So first will be say name, second will be say mobile number, third will be say email addresses, and so on and so forth. Okay, I will explain it in my another, I have written another script file. So how to sort the data, I will come to that later on. Okay, I'm giving you a brief introduction for these commands separately, and then I will show how to use these various commands, okay, in your programming. Now, moving back to next topic, we most of the time we want to create tables within the MATLAB, okay, because many a times we do some calculations and we want to export our results in Excel file, okay, or in some any other format. We want to export these files. So MATLAB can only export these data when you stored this in the form of tables within the MATLAB. Okay, so first way to define the tables or create the tables is to define it like this. Okay, uh, in the command window, this editor, line number 38, what I have done, I have created a variable name input inp main. Okay, within the inp main, I have used this curly bracket. Okay, so whenever you create a table, you have to define it started with the curly brackets. Okay, and end it with the curly brackets. So the start of the table is from here and end it here. Okay, the first is say design data, and I have put it under quotes. Okay, because it is a string. Okay, so that's why I have put it in under quotes. So it is design data. This is the first element. The second column is empty. Okay, because I have put a space under quotes, so it will give you an empty cell. Second is again empty cell, third is again empty cell. So if you want to put an empty cell, you can put it like this. Okay, so what this command will do, it will create a variable, and and within that variable there will be a table, because you are defining it with the curly braces. So within that table, the first cell will be the character or the string design data, and other columns will be empty. Okay, now I have used three dots over here. The three dots are used while writing the programs in the script file. Whenever your commands are too long to fit into this width up to over here, so what you do, you just put three dots. So what it will do, it will continue it, okay, into the next line. Okay, what I can do, I can just remove this and put the commands like this. But what it is doing, this is putting so much text in the one line. So I want it to be simple. I want to make it look simple. So what I have done just put 3 dots over here and make an enter. So what it will do, it will just continue it to the next line. Okay. I have one question. Yes, I will run this. I will run this definitely. First, let me explain. Now, this is the first row. Okay, this is the first row. First column is design data, and other 3 columns are empty. Then the semicolon. Semicolon will separate the first row. Now comes the second row. The second row, first column is serial number, then description, then value, then unit. Okay, then come to the next column, and so on and so forth. So now let me run this command and then I will explain. Now you can see over here in the left side in the workspace, a variable is created with the name input main, INP main. Okay, double click it. Okay, we have 4 by 4 cells. Okay, because 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and number of columns 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 rows, 4 columns. So the first one was design data. You can see in this table, the first one is design data. Okay, this is a string. The second one was empty. So second cell is empty. Third is empty. Fourth is empty. Okay. Then I have put semicolon. After the semicolon, what it will tell the MATLAB, this semicolon will tell the MATLAB to move to the next row. So it will come to the second row, and second row, first column is serial number. So you can see the serial number is written over here. Then comma will separate the columns. Okay, so to the next column, it will be description. Okay, so you can find description over here. Then next value, then unit. Okay, now I have write the serial number 1, 1, 2, and RL of base and RL of base of dam, maximum water level, and these values and their units. So this command has created a table, a 4 by 4 containing 4 by 4 cells, and you can represent your table like this. Okay. I hope you understood this command well while looking at this variable input main. If there is any question regarding this, creating the table, you can ask it right now. Write it in the chat box if there is any confusion. Similarly, if you want to write another table, you can write it another table. Okay, I have just written another command, set of commands. I will just run this. Okay. There is another question. Yes, I will explain it. I will explain. Okay. So I have created 2 variables containing the table in INP main and FM. Okay. Now I want to save my table. What this INP main and FM are, these are the cells. Okay, these are the contents of the table. I want to save it so that MATLAB can understand that, okay, whenever we want to extract these values, so MATLAB can understand that it is stored in a table. So first of all, to store in a table, what we will do, we will create a structure. Okay, like previously we create a structure named data. So similarly, we create a structure, Within that structure, we will store the values of these input main and FM. Okay, so I am creating over here a structure named calculate. The variable is INP main. Let me change this name to make it understandable. I will write it INP main values. So I have created a variable name INP main values within a structure named calculate. Okay, and I have assigned the values of INP main. Okay, the values means the table I have just created above. Okay, this INP main. This INP main will be stored in this variable. Okay, and similarly FM values. Okay, now it will create a structure named calculate. Within that calculate, there will be variables. Let me show you. Okay, I have double clicked the calculate. Okay, run the command side by side with me on your MATLAB so that you can understand very well. Okay. So the calculate structure has been created over here. Within the structure, you can see two variables, INP main values and FM values. And if you double click it, you will find the values of INP main and values of FM within that variable. Okay. I have written some uh, the content of this table is moments, magnitude of force. You can write whatever you want. Okay, I've just used it related to my field. Okay, now the use of this calculate will be to convert it into the table. Okay, up till now there is no table in the MATLAB. Okay, these are the contents of the table. Now I want to convert this structure into a table. Okay, okay, there are two different meanings of table means different and structure means different in the MATLAB. Okay, the meaning of the two are different. Okay, MATLAB will interpret it differently. You cannot create or export the structure uh, into Excel file. You can only export your table into Excel file. So in order to export your values, you have to create it into convert your structure into table. So this next command results equal to structure to table. What it will do, it will convert your structure into the table. So I'm running this. What I have done? This structure to table is a function, and I have put calculate inside this function. So what it will do, it will convert this structure calculate into table. Okay, and will save the newly created table with the name results. So execute it. So on the left side in the workspace, you will find a table now. Now it is designated as 4x2 table. Now it's the table. You have created the table. Okay. So double click it. You will find the contents of this table. So results have two INP values and FM values. Okay. Now this is a table. Now you can export it. Okay. You can export it in Excel form. This is the table. The extension of this table is question. Why? Okay, there is one question. Why we are using here calculate instead of data as used earlier? Okay. See, unmute. Can you unmute the participant so that she can respond? Nikita Barpe.
Okay. Okay, one of the question from the participants. So we are unmuting you. So please ask Nikita Barpi. We are unmuting you. So आप भी and भी हो सुन रही हो.
Yes, you can ask.
I have not seen your slides. You're sharing content.
Okay, okay. Now it's visible.
Yeah. Sir, here is we are using calculate dot INPM main values, that is we are using here in data structure format. But before that we are using data dot x values equals to data. So why we are not using here data dot somewhere values function dot x or wherever INP main. But
Yes,
why
yes.
we are using here calculate dot, not data dot?
Okay, okay. See, earlier when I created this data, I just gave an example how to create. This was a very simple example. I'm sure. Yes, this was the command. Okay. Here, I just showed that with a very simple illustration that how to create a structure. Okay, this was a simple illustration. Okay, you can use this structure to write your table. Okay, you can use this structure. Just use this command. Okay, this is the another illustration. Now the reason behind this is here the variables x, y, and z are very simple. Okay, these are very simple variables. Okay, so I just use these variables here. In this calculate INP main values, this input is a type is not a vector or matrix. It is a in the form of a table. There is a difference. Okay, this is in the form of a table and these are the vectors. Okay, so this is a different type of variable INP main. Okay, first difference is that. Second is your question was that why we are not using data. So you can use this structured data, okay, to create your table. Just write struct. Let me write this command. If I write this command and put it data within here, it will definitely change or not change but create table. You can find it over here in answer. You have a table with x and x values, and what were the x and x values? X and x values were the contents of this structured data. So you can use this. Okay, I'm just illustrating, so I used another structure calculate, so you can do. Okay, I hope this answers the question. But note over here that the contents of both the structures, data and calculate, are different. Here, this is a vector x, this is another vector, this is two characters only, x, y, and here it is a table. It is written in the form of a table, INP. You can create directly this into a table. Okay, so this is the difference in the content. Okay, now if you want to write your table, up to here results, what I have done, I have just created a table named results, and the content of these tables are the contents of calculate. Okay, up to here it is. Now let me run this command, write table. What it will do, yes, now what it will do, this write table will write the table results into data1. Okay, into data1. So this is another command to write your table with a different name. So you can find it. Okay, you can find it data1 in your folder wherever you are running the you have stored all your files. You can find over there. Okay, you can find it over here in the current folder. You can find data1. Okay, data1. So write table will export the table, okay, with the name data1. Okay, so this is how you can export. The one question from the participant was how to extract data with the Excel file. So this will I cover in the next program. Okay, first let me quickly explain loops. Okay, because we will be using loops also. So let me explain this. Many times we need to use loops while executing our programs, while writing our programs, because loops are very useful when you run some iterations, when you extract data from your data file, whether it be an Excel file or any other type of file. Whenever you want to extract the data, these loops are very useful. And some statements means if a statement, switch statement, these are very useful while writing the program. So I will just give here a quick uh, syntax of the one of the loops, which is for loop. Many of the computer science people would know very well about these loops. So just I will give you a quick review over here. For writing, the syntax of the for loop is this. Okay, you write the for loop right like this. For loop, first is the condition. Okay, what is the condition? Okay, the condition for this is I equal to 1 to n. The so what it will do, it will start your loop from I equal to 1, and it will run continuously run till it reach this value up to n. And what is n? I have defined n over here. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set the number of iterations. I is number of iterations. So what I have done over here, I have set the iterations from 1 to 10 by defining the value of n. Okay, I can, if I want to do 20 iterations, so I just write n equal to 20 over here, and this will run the loop from 1 to 20 one by one. Okay, the first value is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, up to 20. Then what it will do after passing this condition by setting the value of I, okay, then it will move to the next command. The next command is run product, RUNPROD, run product equal to run product into I. Okay, this is the function. You can write any other function of your choice, or whatever the project you are working on, the function based on that project. I have just used for the illustration this simple expression, run product is equal to run product into I. And I have to initialize the value. Remember, whenever you initialize some variable, when you use that variable in multiplication, initialize it with the unity. And whenever you are using a variable in addition or subtraction, you initialize it with the 0. Okay, so if this expression was run product plus 1, okay, I would have initialize it with the 0. And here it is, since I have used multiplication over here, so I am initializing it with the 1. So what it will do, it will first set the value of I to 1 because it is starting from 1. Okay, so I is equal to 1 up to here, and run product is equal to 1. So 1 into 1, it will store the value equal to 1 in this. Then again, it will come back to over here. It will set the value I equal to 2 because it is going from 1 to 20. Okay, so it will run 20 times. Okay, so from 1 to 20. Next, it will set the value of I to 2. Run product was 1, so 1 into 2 is 2. It will store the value of 2. Then it will continuously doing this up to it reaches the value of 20, and when it reaches the value, the last value 20, it will end. So this is a loop, for loop. Okay, another type of loop, and now let me run these commands so that you can understand what it's doing. Okay, so in the workspace you can find your variable run product, and it is giving some value, this. Okay, this program, this expression or this loop is actually calculating the factorial of this value n. It is actually calculating the factorial of n. Okay, so factorial of 20. Another type of loop is while loop. Okay, I personally do not prefer using while loops. I simply prefer for loops because for loops are fast, work faster than the while loops. So, but another type of loop is while loop. You can use while loop also. The similar syntax use in while loop also. There is a condition. Okay, so the condition is fac is less than equal to high. So you define high and you define fac before the starting of this loop. So high is 500, fac is equal to 1. So it will first check whether this condition is satisfied or not. If this condition is satisfied, it will move to the statements. Okay, all these are known as statements. Okay, this is one statement, this is another statement, and this is the condition. So once this condition is satisfied, it will move to the statements. The first statement is I equal to I plus 1. Okay, so notice over here I have used the addition over here. So this value of I should be set to 0. Okay, so I is equal to 0. Okay. Then so this 0 plus 1, it will set the value of I to 1, and it will then calculate the value fac is equal to fac into 1. So this is the similar program, fac into fac 1, similar program just like this one, run product into run. It will again calculate the factorial of this value fac. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, why for loop is faster than while loop? You have
Yes.
said no. Okay, for loop is faster than while loop.
Yes, yes.
Why it's so?
Because whenever what it will do, first of all, it will check the condition. Okay, so it will check the condition, and it will just go back to the statements. Okay, so if the condition is satisfied over here, it will come to the statements. Okay, and then after executing this statement, it will jump back to the this condition, and it will check it. It will what it will do? It will check another condition. Means first I equal to 1, then I equal to 2, then I equal to 3, and so on and so forth up to n. So, and it will run the program like this. Okay. While doing the in this, what it is doing? This is first we have set the value of fac equal to 1 and set the value of high equal to 500, and we have put the condition over here. Okay, so what it is doing, it is first checking that fac is 1 and high is 500. So if it is true, it will execute this program, and if it is not true, it will just terminate the program. Okay, terminate this loop. Okay.
Sir, in for loop you have used 1 to n, right? So
Yeah.
before condition that for loop you have initialized the n, na? The same thing we are doing in while loop, na? Initialization, then the using the statement, the keyword, the for or while, and putting the condition, checking the condition. If condition satisfied, then statement will run.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So what's the difference in that case?
The difference is that here it has defined that I is from 1 to n. Okay.
Yeah,
So
and it initialized before this condition, right? For
yes,
condition. Yeah.
yes, yes.
So in the same way, a while loop fact is less than equal to high, and we have to initialize this two variable, the fact and
Yes,
high, that you have
yes, yes,
done here, right?
yes, yes, yes.
So the same thing is no for loop and while loop. There is a difference
Yes.
between do while and while loop, but I am not getting what's the difference between while and for loop. This is
So
just the
there,
two way
but
of writing the loop programs.
yes, yes, there are two means you can use either while loop or you can use either for loop. Okay,
Yeah,
both loops work similarly. Okay,
yeah,
the
but
execution is same, writing the conditions is same, the statements may be same. Okay, there is no major difference between the two.
yeah, but
The only difference is
my
yes,
question is, my focus is, you have just said कि for loop is faster than while loop, so I am trying
yes,
to
yes, yes, yes.
understand
You
कि
can
why it's so.
yes, the for loops whenever you run the program, whenever you run the program, you can calculate the execution time. Okay, you can calculate the execution time. Put tick over here, and at the end of the loop, put talk over here. Okay, so what it will do, it will calculate the time for you. Okay,
Okay,
and then you can check whether which loop is working faster. Okay, so
okay,
in MATLAB this for loop work slightly faster than the while. Okay, majorly there is no major difference between the two, both are same, the conditions are same, you can write the same statements. Okay, the way of execution is similar, but the speed of for loop is faster, it has been observed. Okay, by the speed of this in MATLAB program. So you can observe this by just put the tick over here and put the talk over here, and you can check the execution time. Okay,
thank you.
but while checking the time, if the statements are like this, very simple statements. So what will happen for the simple statement? There may be a difference of a fraction of second, which you cannot observe. But if the statements are quite big, quite huge, when you are doing some big programming, so there will be a significant difference between the two. Okay, while running this type of statements where I have just calculating the products and addition, doing the addition work. So here there will be a very slight difference. But in whenever you write bulky programs, okay, there will be a slight difference in the execution time. I hope this answers the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So there are other loops also. I may not be able to explain all the loops over here because uh, the time is very short. So I will just explain these two, for and while loops, and now I will explain switch case statements and if else statements. Okay. So while doing the programming, many a times we need to we need to ask the user for certain choices. Okay. And based on those choices, we have to run different program. There is one question. Let me see the this while loop is similar to if If is not a loop, while is a loop. There is a difference. While is a loop. If are the conditional statements. Okay. If and else are the conditional statements. So both are not similar actually. So in this illustration for switch case statements, what I'm doing, I have defined over here answer one, a variable answer one equal to question dialog. This is a function, a default function in the MATLAB, QUESTDLG, question dialog. What it will do, it will present a question dialog box, and whatever is written over here, it will display that question. Okay. So let me run this first. I'm running this. Okay. So what this command is doing, it is displaying a question dialog box with the statement which I have already written. Do you want to enter your details? Okay. And it is giving me three choices. The first choice is yes. The second choice is no. The third choice is cancel. So if I press yes, based on my answer, the switch will switch my answer to that whatever the statement, whatever the program I have written, it will switch back to that one. If I choose this option, it will do it accordingly. Whatever will be the program referred to this answer no. And whatever the program I have written for this option cancel, it will do that for you. Okay. So now in this, I just cancel it. Okay. Now first, let me show the program. So my answer in this, I selected cancel. So the choice, whatever I have selected in this question dialog box, will be stored in answer one. Okay. So you can see in your workspace, a variable name answer is created, answer one is created, and within that variable, the value is stored a string name cancel. Okay. So this is my choice. Now what I will do, I will switch my answer one, means whatever the choice the user has selected, and I have created three different cases based on that choice. There were three different choices, so I have to define three cases. The first option was yes. So what needs to be done when the user decides to press yes? So if the answer is yes, what it will do, it will create a variable name. Okay. And I have used another function input over here, enter your full name and put it in a type of string. This S represents the string type. Okay. This is the syntax of this function input. Okay. If you want to know details about this function, just type help input in the command window. It will give you all the details of this function. Okay. So what I'm doing over here, I'm trying to extract the full name of the user and store it as string type within the variable name. Okay. So if the answer of the user is yes, it will jump to this case. If the answer of the user is no, it will jump to this case. And there will be another function I have used, which is DISP, is display. It will display just this sentence, user details not entered. And if user choose cancel, so it will just return. Okay, it will do nothing and it will just return back. So let me run this again to illustrate it. And the switch, let me tell you one thing. This is an important thing. The switch statement must be terminated with the statement end. Okay. Sorry, the whole command. Yes. So this is a result of first command. Now suppose I want to choose yes. If I choose yes, it will jump to the this case. So it must ask me enter your full name. So see in your command window, it is asking enter your full name. So let me write, say my name, and I will press enter. So what it will do, it will store my name in the variable name. Okay, in the variable name. If you double click it, the name that I have entered is stored over here. Okay, stored over here. If I select no, let me run it again. If I press no, so what it should do, it just display the information that user details not entered. Okay, so it user details not entered. Okay, don't bother about these commands. These are related to the commands written over here. Okay, so do not bother about this. I will explain. Okay, so this is about the switch case statements. Another is if else statements. So switch case statements were similar to the switch case statements. We tend to use if else statements also. If else statements are run when the certain conditions are satisfied, and if that condition is not satisfied, then it will just end the statement. Okay, so say over here I have assigned the value 2 to this variable x, so x is equal to 2. Now I am checking over here that whether this x is less than 0. So if x is less than 0, it should display that this value is negative. So display negative. Else means otherwise, if this condition is not true. So what it should do, else display positive. Okay, so it should do like this. So say x is equal to 2 and run this program. So we know that x is greater than 2, x is not less than 2. So it is jumping back to this statement else, and it is displaying it as positive. Okay, so based on your requirement, you can change these conditions, you can change these statements, and you can run your program. This is a simple illustration of else if else. Now many times we have to put various conditions, different conditions. Okay, so suppose in this I have different conditions. In the previous one I had just two conditions. First is negative or positive. If suppose I further categorize the number in different criteria. Okay, so first I have assigned the value of x is equal to 50. You can assign it as any value. Okay, you can change this value. Now what it will do, it will check, this is the condition, if x is less than 0. So if this condition is true, this statement will be executed. And if this condition is false, it will jump to the next else if. Now if I put if with the else, what it will do, it is used while running the various set of conditions. Okay, if I just want to test two conditions, so it will just do either this or that. Okay, what this if and else is doing, if I just putting if and else statement, it is checking either this condition, and if this condition is false, it will just jump to this one. Okay, but what this else if is doing, it is checking this condition. If it is false, it is checking this condition. Okay, if it is false, it is checking this condition. Okay, it is working like this. So first of all, I am checking that whether x is less than 0. If it is true, this statement will be executed and it will end the and this program. Okay. If this is untrue, then it will jump to next else if statement, and it will check that either if x is not less than 0, then it should be greater than or equal to 0, and it is less than 100. I have used these conditional statement and ampersand with ampersand. So it is checking both the conditions. Both the conditions must be true in order to execute this statement. If I put or over here, so it will just check whether this is true or this is true. Either of the one is true, it will execute this statement. But when I put and over here, both the conditions should be true in order to execute this one. So it is checking that whether it is greater than or equal to 0 and less than 100. If it is true, it is putting positive value but less than 100. And similarly, another statement, if it is greater than or equal to 100, the display will be positive value but greater than 100. Okay, so you can execute this and run this. So 50 is positive value but less than 100. Okay. Many a times we need nested if. The difference between else if and nested if is that in else if, what you check, if this condition, else if this condition. Okay, but nested if, we just use ifs number of times, multiple number of times. Okay, so this first condition is if a is not equal to 0. Okay, so what I have done over here, I have defined d is equal to b square minus 4ac. Okay, d equal to b square minus 4ac. So it is checking whether a is not equal to 0. This condition is if a is not equal to 0. If a is not equal to 0, then it will check if d is negative. If d is negative, it will display complex roots, and if d is positive, it will display real roots, and it will calculate the roots. Okay, I'm not running this. You can run this. Okay, because I have to move to next program. Okay. So come to before running this program, I would like to explain how to write a function file. Okay, so to make a new function file, just come over here, new, and select function. It will create a new file as a type of function file. Okay, so just click it. So you will find out that here the syntax is function. This is output arguments. So whatever whatever will be the output arguments are, you can put over here. Suppose your output argument is y. The name of the function should be written over here, and the name of file should be same as the name of function. Suppose name of function is area. Name of function is area, and input argument is say r. Argument means just variables. What is the output variable and what is the input variable? A good practice is to define the purpose of this function, so that whenever user type help and the name of that function, this must be the help must illustrate the user that what is the purpose of that function and how to use that function. So it is a good practice to define and put an illustrative example to show what is the purpose and what is the use of your function. Okay, so I have defined a function file over here with the name area, and this file should be saved with the same name as the name of the function. So save as in the folder, working folder, and it will automatically take it as the name of the function area. It will be saved as .m file and just save it. So now your function area is saved. Now whatever calculations you want to do, you can put over here in the body. I just want to calculate area of circle, so it will be area pi r square. So I just put it over here. Just put it over here. This is y. Our output is y. And I just save it. So this is how you can define functions. Now, one question from the user was that how to import Excel sheets. Okay, so there are different ways. Okay, the first one is to use this command xlsread. Okay, this command xlsread. In this command, you have to put the path of your file, where your file exists with the extension. Okay, and it will read the Excel file. Okay, the first and simplest method is to use xlsread command. Okay, but the problem with this xlsread command is that you have to sort your data yourself. Okay, based on the content of your file. Okay, now if you want to sort your content automatically, for that I have created this program, progmat. Okay, this program, what it will do, it will ask you to give the path or browse the file, the location of the file, and it will automatically sort all the data, and it will store your data in different structures. Okay, so let me first illustrate this program, the simplest one to read the data. The first command is, I have created a variable ZZZ. xlsread will read the file which is stored in this path. Okay, so the folder that I have provided, in that folder I have created an Excel file test data. The content of that test data is, there are two variables, three variables, x1, x2, and output. So this is the use of indexing, the indexing that I have told earlier. So indexing, what I'm doing over here, I am just indexing this variable ZZZ. So what I'm doing over here, I'm extracting all the rows of first column and try to store this values into variable x1, because when you open the Excel file, the first column is x1, second column is x2. So I'm extracting it, okay, the second column and all the rows, and storing it into x2. The third column is output, so I am trying to extract third column like this. Okay, so this is the problem with this type of programming, that each time whenever you change this file, you have to define your columns and variables separately. Okay, it will not be done automatically. You have to do it every time you change your file. Okay, now what this program, this progmat will do, it will just ask you to locate the file, and it will do all the indexing itself by using various conditional statements. Okay, it will do that for you. And this program also uses the structures that I have already explained. Okay, so let me first run this I'm hiding the rest of the statements and just running this up to here. Okay, now let's run this. Okay, now you can see a variable ZZ is created with all the values, and here also you can see in ZZZ only the double value will be stored. There will be no variable. Okay, so you have to define the variables yourself. So next line is defining the variable x1 first column. So this first column will be the values of x1. So that what this command is doing. It is storing the second column to x2 and output to third column. This command is calculating what it is doing. These are just doing some statistical calculations. It is calculating minimum value, maximum value, okay, and the ranges. Okay, so
Yes. So sorry to interrupt you. There is one question from a participant: how to export data? And further, he extended his question: how to import data and plot? So I think if you just first
import data.
export data, I think it is clear when you export these triple Z to some Excel file or some this file. So please clear this. Also, how to import data and plot.
Okay, the importing of data is just I'm explaining. This is the first method. Okay, how to import the data. So if there is any question, you can ask. And there are some commands due to the time restriction. I was unable to cover. But the one question about the exporting the data in Progmat, you can go to the exporting data to Excel file. Okay, there you will find the commands which will export the data. Okay, so use those commands. You can very well able to export your data into Excel files. Okay, so this was the question from one of the participants, how to export the data. So use those commands in program file Progmat that I have shared. Browse to the lower to up to the line number 80. You will find the set of commands for exporting the data to Excel file. And if you find any difficulty in understanding those commands, you can email me. My email and phone number is with you. So you can email me about the queries. Okay. So with that, I conclude this session.